Dave is the chair of Boys to Men Virginia. He is the vice chair of Boys to Men USA. And Dave Bolduc serves as the board chair and development director for Boys to Men Virginia. He's also the vice chair for Boys to Men USA and co-founded Boys to Men New England in 2008, where he served as executive director and key officer. Dave has co-led numerous adventure weekends and mentor trainings along the East Coast. He has a Bachelor's of Science in Chemical Engineering from UMass Lowell and an MBA from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Dave is celebrating 36 years at Kimberly-Clark, where he leads capital projects across the US and Canada. Dave's sudden loss of his dad when he was 17 fueled his passion to work with youth and Boys to Men. A Mankind Project member as well, Dave has a black belt in Taekwondo and lives with his partner of 10 years, Teresa. So with that, David, we want to welcome you.
Okay, so the next two leaders for the session, and as Part said, this is going to be very interactive, and I've had the pleasure of knowing and working with these two for some time. So the first one is Mirabai Galashan, and I've known Mirabai for 6 years when she joined Boys to Men USA board, and she came to our USA Summit in Virginia a few years ago, so we've been some work around Boys to Men and Girls to Women. Mirabai is an internationally renowned therapist, facilitator, and coach. She leads creative recovery group therapy, works as a children's mobile crisis therapist, and also owns a private practice where she works with individuals and couples worldwide. She has over 20 years experience creating inspirational and transformative workshops and retreats, over 2 decades experience in women's and gender inclusive circles, and trains others to facilitate personal growth work in peer groups. She's a level 3 certified facilitator for Women Within and co-founded Girls to Women Hawaii. Mirabai serves on both the boards of Boys to Men USA and Women Within Hawaii. So welcome, Mirabai. And David Cordes. So I've known David for 13 years. We met in 2007 when I came off my Mankind Project weekend, and I went to check out Boys to Men, and I went to Europa Rite of Passage Adventure Weekend in New York, Rochester, New York, where one of our big centers was back in the day. And, we got to know each other there, and David at that point became an ally of mine, and I decided to start Boys to Men New England, and David helped me to start it, grow it, and to grow myself. So I love David, and he's a great friend of mine, but he's a founder and the executive director of Boys to Men Canada. He's a masterful facilitator with more than 18 years of experience leading personal empowerment workshops for adults and youth, has a unique ability to quickly build trust and do it powerfully. He allows them to build safe and authentic heart connections from where participants can access their deeper truth. He's playful and dynamic and keeps people on the edge of realizing more of their potential. David has a non-negotiable commitment to providing the highest quality experience for everyone who participates in his events. And what I'll say about David, in addition to being a really good friend of mine and a mentor, is he really does. He plays well between the right and the left, his left brain, fully connected. So with that, welcome, and we'll turn it over to David and Mirabai.
Thanks so much, Dave, and welcome everybody. I'm excited to see some people I know and many that I don't. Just while we're seeing if anybody else is popping in, if you want to go in the chat box and say, where are you calling from? Your role, if you feel that's important for us to know, and a couple of feeling words. So shaking off everything from before, and I like to think of chickens of the future that I'm shooing out the door till after this thing, and be getting really present so we can play together.
Welcome and thank you, Mirabai. Welcome, everybody. We're here tonight to share a program that Mirabai and I developed using SEL as a foundation. And the need was actually brought to us with teachers that we were working with through another program we developed called Beyond the Classroom. And as the pandemic continued, the exhaustion, anxiety, and stress levels of these teachers just kept going off the charts. And we developed a program, which is essentially a 20 module program that we run concurrent with the school year, where the teachers are coming to meet us in circle once every 2 weeks. It's highly experiential. We're actually going to deliver a few of the highlights. This will be a live and interactive ASEL session with you. And we're going to spend the next hour and a half giving you a taste of what it's like to be in this space, and maybe ask you also to experience it a bit through the lens, if you know teachers, how groundbreaking this may be for them. I don't know if it's true in the States, but in Canada, there's been a big movement in school boards across the country to start to highlight teacher mental health is actually essential. So we've created this space to give teachers support, resources, tools, and skills so that they can stay centered and grounded in this current pandemic and beyond. Our bigger vision is that, because both Mirabai and I are involved in mentoring programs, our bigger vision is the exponential potential of this work. We know that each teacher interacts with 25 to 30 students at a time. And our bigger vision is a cultural shift inside of the education system, where teachers start to bring this methodology into their classrooms. Did you like how I pronounced that, Mirabai?
I did.
Yeah, into their classrooms. And I did that for South Africa as well. And begin leveling the playing field and creating spaces in their classrooms for students to get emotionally clean before they start to devour material. And we have several teachers, I'll wrap up this part of the introduction with this sentence. We have several teachers now who are actually beginning each class with a check-in, with a 15-minute period of landing in the class. And what they're telling us is that the students are actually more engaged and open to learn once they have that space to clear out what they're carrying into the classroom. So we're thrilled to be here tonight and to be introducing this to you. And without further ado, I'll hand the baton to Mirabai. And
Okay.
maybe you can explain a little bit what is SEL?
Yeah, and before I do that, if everybody wants to just pop in the chat box, what's your experience level with SEL? Have you ever heard of it? And the other lens I want to invite you to use today, which I think is exciting and why this is really relevant for this conference, is that to see that the expertise that we have gained through mentoring is exceptionally transferable or overlapping in this skill set. So this also offers from boys and girls women communities like another opportunity to expand the mission through a slightly different vehicle, but still coming from very much the same value system. So if I could have the first slide. There's an organization called the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, and they defined SEL like 26 years ago, but this year they have updated it. I am not going to read aloud to you, or maybe I should in case somebody's on the phone. Social emotional learning is an integral part of education and human development. It's the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. Okay, so far, does that sound vaguely familiar? Mentoring people? SEL advances, here's the exciting kind of bigger mission-y part, educational equity and excellence through authentic school, family, community partnerships to establish learning environments and experiences that feature trusting and collaborative relationships. Oh, I lost the screen share. Rigorous and meaningful curriculum and instruction and ongoing evaluation. It can help address various forms of inequity and empower young people and adults to co-create thriving schools and contribute to safe, healthy, and just communities. So what inspires me about this is the idea that we're taking the culture that we share in Circle, and we are expanding it beyond that circle to schools, to families, and to communities. So we're not going to go into these in detail here. They're worth looking into, though. They're bullet points. But they identify this 5 core competencies: self-awareness, self-management, so that would be like self-regulation, relationship skills, social awareness, and that's where you are looking at things like inclusivity and diversity and inequities, and responsible decision making, which actually goes like from the personal to the family, to the school, to the peers, the cultural. And what you might also notice is for anybody that is familiar with archetypes, and I just thought of this the other day when we were working on these slides, is you can actually also apply an archetype lens to this, like child, adolescent, lover, warrior, and sovereign. Just a little aside note there. So those are the spheres of focus. David, why work with teachers? I think we've covered that a bit, but do you want to say a little more about that? About why and why now?
Yeah, the pandemic has changed everything in education, and the educational landscape in its structure has changed as the learning environments have. What we've done with our program is actually gather information from the teachers themselves about their state in the systems that they're teaching in. And Parth, if you could just go to page 3, this is we selected 5 questions survey to find out where teachers are at. And so this is one here. I don't think we can see the percentages, Parth, at the bottom. And this is a survey that they do right at the beginning of the course. We'll back end it. But how often do you feel stressed? And if you look at the pie chart here, it's sometimes to always. This was done about 2.5 months ago. So right after the beginning of the school year. If you can move down a slide, please. How often did you feel frustrated at work? Again, high numbers of high levels of frustration. We move again, please, Parth. I don't know how much content we want to go over. We want to give you an idea, and this is in the teacher's words, of how they feel right now in their role. How often do they feel overwhelmed? From sometimes to almost always. High numbers, with a little bit of once in a while. 2 more, please, Parth. This is the stressed out at work. And this last question, how much does their work matter to you? And the interesting contrast is, despite all of these other pressures that they're under, they're still highly committed to what they're there to do, from matters a little bit to a tremendous amount. So there's hope in the system, and there's a call for help. And that's why we're here tonight, to introduce this work to you. I think we're ready, Mirabai. I know I am. I'm done going through slides and reading definitions. Can we get into an activity together?
Let's do some stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does everybody have a pen and a piece of paper? Can you run get one if you don't? I was informed that you knew this already, but just in case you didn't. Okay. So this is like a very simple little exercise, but just to begin to think about success, think about life, think about making progress or growth in a different way. what you're going to do is draw a circle. And if Path, if you want to show page 9 briefly and then 10. Because you guys are going to copy the circle. And then I will explain what to do with it. Yeah, okay, you can land on page 10. There we go. Can everybody see that? It's kind of small on my computer. It's a pie. I like to think of this as like, what's your favorite pie, guys? Put that in the chat. While we're at this, we'll do a little poll. Now, if I thought about this earlier, I would have done a poll. I'm like torn between apple and cherry, depending on my mood. Blueberry. Oh, rhubarb. A nice one, Michael. Cherry. Pecan. That just makes me think of Harry Met Sally. Pecan pie. Straw, rhubarb. Yes. Yes, I'm digging that. Okay. Rhubarb meringue. I love meringue.
Spinach and feta?
Why not? Okay, we're a little amiss with the pie. Anyway, draw a pie with 8 slices while Path's getting us back to where we need to get to. Key lime, one of my favorites. I like a lemon meringue too.
The meringue has to be just perfect though. Just perfect.
Yeah. Savory. Okay, I think we lost that pie chart. So I'm going to read out to you what the segments of your pie should be labeled. Bearing in mind that you have full permission to edit these, right? If there's an area that's missing here, like creativity, for example, or something else, feel free to add in an extra slice. So starting at 1 o'clock, but it doesn't really matter what order, we have work, finances, purpose or spirituality. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Path. Friendships, mental health, physical health, relationships and family, hobbies. So you might want to add creativity. You might want to add community, volunteering. I'm not sure, there's some grasshopper. Okay, so now what you're going to do, if you are more of a scientist type person, you can imagine that in the middle is the 0 axis and out of the perimeter is 10. And you can shade in, you can rate all these on a scale of 0 to 10, being pretty obvious, right? If you are more of a creative type, I invite you to think about how full each of these slices of your pie is. And if you happen to have coloring pens and you want to draw in your blueberries or strawberries or feta, go for it. So take a little time and measure these things up. So the middle empty is the pits. 10 is as good as it could get. We use art in every session, and because it's fun and because it helps access different parts of our brain as a link to the subconscious. But when I say we use art, the important thing is to send your inner critic out the door. So this is not about, I can't draw, it doesn't look like this, making it pretty. It's about visual expression. So no art shaming of yourself or others. So we're now going to pop you into breakout rooms in pairs. And you're going to have 3 minutes each to share some inquiry, how you feel when you look at your chart. Like, as in, what feeling are you having? So notice in the body instead of just the head, surprises, insights, and which areas call to you.
So welcome back. Thank you for saying yes to that. This activity is the launch activity for the ASEL program with teachers. And what it does, it's a self-assessment that provides them, and it highlights a trajectory that is really tailored to them, what they want to accomplish in the year that they spend with us what they want to improve on, grow into. So this is used to guide them throughout the course that we offer. It's like each person has a tailored experience through the program with a lens on one or two items in their pie chart. We're going to move on to the next exercise. Our goal tonight is to give you 3 experiential experiences. Just a quick question before we do. I'll hand it to Mirabai.
Okay. Pens again and another piece of paper. So you're going to draw, like here I'm going to demonstrate my vulnerability in leadership and show you my art skills. I'd like you to draw you surrounded by circles. It is like a bullseye, and there's a reason for that. So a stick figure you surrounded by circles, concentric circles, bullseye, and you're in the middle. So this exercise, we're going to use this as a way of mapping difficult relationships, stressful relationships, people that trigger you, bother you, people who cause you heartache, grief. And we're going to think of like between 3 and 6, and you're going to draw them on your chart, and closer to you, depending on how much impact they have. You could also do this with geography. You know, if it's somebody you rarely see, they may have a smaller impact. And you're going to put a symbol or an initial that means something to you, but nobody else on this call. So I have P out there. Although actually that person should be a lot closer in because they have a massive, massive impact. I get very triggered by that person. So 3 to 6 people that you have some issues with. Size and proximity to you, reflecting the impact.
Yeah, we're looking for people that you interact with that routinely trigger you or you are triggered by.
Or upset by if you don't use the trigger language. And a lot of these exercises you can adapt for different purposes. So you could totally do this with yummy people, but we have another way of looking at it. And we're not going to be sharing who those people are at all. So armed with this table, you're going to head into the breakout room. You're not going to explain the story or the person or why they upset you or any of that stuff at all. You are just going to pick the top 3, and with your partner, you're going to work through this chart. So person number 1, you're going to, the feeling I have most, check 1. You may check more than 1. And then, how do I respond? And then you go with person 2, person 3, and just notice any patterns there. So we're going to have 3 minutes each, looking at recording how you feel and how you respond to that feeling. And if you want to write in things like I isolate, you know, under here, under the box, or I withdraw, or something else you do that doesn't, you're not sure which feeling it fits in, go for it. So thank you, Parth. Let's do the breakout rooms.
Often with men, we go to anger first and then show that. And usually if we stay with our anger, we realize that what happened often caused us grief, and we just don't know how to express that first. So I was just acknowledging that in you.
I wouldn't say that's only with men.
Did I say only?
No, often with men. I'm just, saying. I
Happened
think
to be
actually,
from that species.
as you know, because this happened yesterday, right?
Ah.
We had a little thing, David and I, and I have a really big button, which you wouldn't know is a big button. It's like not feeling heard. But it's one of those things where I have like $1 million reaction to a $5 issue. And for me, that goes back to some pretty bad stuff that happened to me when I was little. And the body drops back into that place of powerlessness and my no not being heard. And because I don't want to go back there and I'm trying to protect my inner child, I actually come out aggressively and I had to apologize. So I think there might be a universal thing that not wanting to go into that vulnerability, I like can overcompensate and come over as aggressive when really what I'm wanting to show is vulnerability, but I don't even know if I'm safe to do it.
Right.
Or maybe it's just, it doesn't feel like I could choose that in that moment. It's just, I don't want to go back there. I don't want this to happen to me again.
Mirabai,
Anyone else relate to that?
Yes.
Oh.
We have a question that just came in. Are judgments about anger? I have those more than anger at people. And if we were in an ASEL session, we always keep the resource room open at the back end of our sessions for people who need completion. We don't have that space tonight. I know in my work with people, I do one-on-one work as well. Everything is tracked. So if I form a judgment about someone, we track it. What is sourcing that judgment? What am I drawing on from my own history or my own awareness of myself that's fueling that judgment? And the challenge is always to own that. So when, we sit even in this circle right now, I often hear in different circles, this is a judgment-free circle. And when I hear that, thank you, Steve, I say, bullshit. Now, is it still a judgment-free circle? And I know in that moment, everyone in the circle is judging me. So I think the call is not to spiritually bypass judgment or move into avoidance techniques, as you shared. That you own it. And we encourage judgment. We encourage it. It's part of being human. What do I do with that information? Do I act on it in a passively aggressive way, or do I look inside and see what's true for me and bring that lens into the picture? So thank you for bringing that in. The quick teaching piece, I wish we had more time, but we don't. We offer this to teachers, and many of them, when they sit in a circle like this, most teachers have never had an experience where people get together and tell the truth. And it's scary for them at first and enlightening. So we're giving them tools along the way. You may know this tool. It may be it may be something you learned years ago. But one of the tools we give after this exercise is helping them to understand the human automated response mechanism. I call it the ARM. We're armed. And I experience something, or I witness something, or I interact with somebody, I get a thought. Something they say creates a thought. And that thought quickly attaches itself to a feeling. And how it works is that thought lives somewhere in my history, either in my woundology matrix or my historical matrix, and often lives in the current version of me in a place I'm not happy about, if we're in an aggressive way. And so I attach a feeling to it. And then I react before I even think. So here's a great example. Someone cuts me off. A thought, that's wrong. Feeling, anger, reaction, and I don't do this anymore, but I used to be one of those guys that would drive right next to the guy. If you're a guy who's done this, put up your hand.
Or a woman who's done this.
Or get right in front of them and then slow down. But what I learned, even in that exercise, when the whole incident was done, I was left with fear. Fear was actually the first emotion that got brought online. So what we do but I went right to anger. When this happens, my archive tells me anger is the emotion to attach to it, and the reaction happens before I can even stop myself. So what we introduce in the ASEL program is the pause button. So something's going on, I get a thought, I have this feeling, and usually the feeling or the pointing to it is a very strong emotional reaction. We know the difference between a feeling and a strong emotional reaction. And if you can just open up quickly, page 13, Parth, and we ask that at the feeling place, we stop before we do anything. We pause. And we ask ourselves the first question, what's going on inside of me right now, right? What's going on inside of me, really? That guy who cut me off, he's risky, he's dangerous. Every time I've encountered that in my life, someone that reckless, I've gotten hurt. There's an energy here that wants to come out. It's unjust. My injustice jihadist wants to come out and resolve, years of unspoken response. And often, if we stay in the pause long enough, There's something about the thing that's triggering that we actually know because we do it. And we don't like that about ourselves. So there's often two channels going on. And in that moment of reflection, it doesn't have to be 10 minutes. We can really check in with ourselves. What does this situation really require from me, if anything? And what do I need from this situation? What do I require, if anything? And what I've found in my own, recovery work as a human, that if I'm able to stop and ask myself a couple of clarifying questions, ask me, not the person triggering me, I often find that the energy that I wanted to project unconsciously dissipates. And I'm actually able to engage the source of my trigger from a conscious place that's consistent or more consistent with who I really want to be and how I want to show up in the world. I wish I had more time and we could practice this, but I don't.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to play with a creative way to assess the support in your life and empower you to resource yourself better. So I am in Hawaii, and canoes are big here, obviously. That's how people even got here. So the canoe to me is a cool metaphor, because the canoe is, the way we're getting from A to B through life, and having people to help paddle makes all the difference. Nobody got here in a single canoe. So what you're going to do is draw, well, I don't know, it looks like a banana, actually.
There you go. There you go.
It's me and my canoe. There's the sea, looking a bit wavy, actually. All right, so I want you to draw who is in your canoe. Thinking about supportive relationships. Draw the people in your life who add value, help you get where you're going, are there for you. Draw them, put an initial or a little symbol that you know who they are. Nobody else is to know. If you are in that I've got no one, I just want to say that I hear that and feel that. And I invite you to think about people who might not be in your canoe. Maybe they draw them on an island, right? Or in another boat that you could potentially invite in.
Or travel to.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's good to have flotillas too, right? Like I might have people in a family or a family group. I don't necessarily want them in my canoe all the time. Sometimes we can lash the canoes together, and sometimes we need a little space. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with this mapping, but for right now, I would like this to be your canoe of support. And just take a few minutes and think about who your peeps are. Who's on team you? They may be distant. They may not be people you see in real life. And you can also, if you would like to, add in people who are not with you in body anymore. Add in a higher power, ancestors, spirit guides. I'm adding in the dolphins in the sea because they're my peeps. Hey, coming back. All right. You feeling brave? Who wants to show their boat? You don't have to. I was really surprised. My boat turned out kind of big. Anyone else willing to wave? See that? Yay! Cool.
At some point in the planning process, Mirabai and I looked at each other and said, I think we both have this desire to give everyone as much as we can, any chance we can. And I think the today's session is coming soon to a close. So I'm good, Mirabai, with where we've come.
Okay. Yeah. So what we're going to do is, remember way back in the beginning of this presentation, we talked about ASEL. So this would be the way, having done all these explorations, what we were actually doing there was self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills. So each of those exercises is actually pulling on one or more of exploring those competencies. And something you might like to think about, looking back at your, kind of the insights you got today, from the pie to the bullseye thing to your canoe, is like, which of those competencies might I want to call on, maybe the ones I have a lot of, and which are the ones that I think, oh, I want to grow these. This is kind of how we're interweaving these together. The other part of using the creativity, apart from I really like using both sides of the brain, this is also giving really teachable skills to the teachers. I mean, we're working on inside out impact, right? Inside the teachers and then outside. But some of these exercises are all designed to be sort of simple but powerful and kind of bite-sized so they can be shared. So that was just, I wanted to link it all back to applied SEL and what we were doing here. What we're going to do now is to do a chat checkout, and then we're going to close out and hold the last 10 minutes or so open if anybody wants some individual attention to stay behind, which is what we usually do in our meetings. But I figure it's better to leave you all wanting more, or to get out early and have a little break, an extra break. Thanks, Parth. Can you take that down?
What you're carrying in your heart right now, as today's coming to a close, this session's coming to a close, what are you feeling? A couple of words, it could be a symbol.
And then we're going to do a word out loud with everybody, just so we get your vibration heard. So, okay.
Thank you.
So on that note, let's all unmute, and let's do, instead of an actual word, how about we just do a sigh together, or a sound, okay? And we can leave it as long as it goes, and then you can click off, and anybody wants to stay with us and hang out for the last 10 minutes is very welcome. Okay, ready? Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. Blessings.